Hello, in this video we will learn to classify user-defined functions based on arguments and return value. Before going in detail about these four types of functions, let us have a quick review of functions. We have learned that there are two types of functions: standard library functions and user-defined functions. Examples of standard library functions are printf and scanf. The functions that we define are known as user-defined functions. The example of a user-defined function is sum, which we wrote to find the sum of two numbers. In this video, we will see different types of user-defined functions. Here is the program with the function sum. Let's quickly see how this program works. All C programs execution starts from the first line of main function. Here the first line of main function is the line 5. Int s creates a variable s. Sum23 calls the function sum. Then the execution shifts from the main function to the function sum. Also 2 is copied to x and 3 is copied to y. Then the first line in the function body executes. Here it is line 11. X plus y is calculated. The result is 5, and that is returned to the place where the function is called. That value 5 is then stored in the variable s. Next, line 7 will be executed. The printf statements print sum equal to 5, which we get as the output of the program. 2 and 3 forms the input to the function, and 5 is the output of the function. The inputs 2 and 3 are formally called as arguments or parameters, and the output is termed as the return value. Also, 2 and 3 are called as actual arguments, and x and y are known as formal arguments. We require three things to implement a function in a C program. The first one is the function definition. The function header plus the function body together forms the function definition. The function header, which is the line 9, contains the name of the function, the formal arguments, and the return type. That is the data type of the value being returned. The function body is what is contained between these two curly braces. Second is function declaration. The function declaration here is the line 2, which is a copy of the function header with a semicolon at the end. Before using the function sum in the function main, using the function call, we need to declare the function using the function declaration. Just like we need to declare the variable s before using it in the program. Third is the function call. Here sum23 is the function call. So a function can take inputs and give outputs. The inputs are called arguments or parameters, and the output is return value. In the example, 2 and 3 are the inputs or the arguments, and the value returned is 5, which will be stored in the variable s. We classify the user-defined functions into 4 different types based on whether the function is with arguments or without arguments, or with return value or without return value. The first type or the first classification is functions with arguments and with return value. The second is with arguments and no return value. Third is with no arguments and with no return value, and the fourth is with no arguments and with return value. Before going into examples of these types, I want you to look at which lines in the program are related to arguments and which lines are related to return value. First, let us see which lines contain arguments. First, in the function call, you have the actual arguments 2 and 3. Next, in the function header, you have formal arguments x and y. The function declaration also contains the formal arguments x and y, since it is a copy of the function header. This program is an example of the first type of functions, that is functions with arguments and with return value. If the function is without arguments, then these highlighted code should change. Now, if the function has a return value, let us see which lines associate with that. First, the return statement, the return type in the header, the return type in the function declaration. Also, if there is a return value, that value which comes back must be used. Here that value is stored in a variable s. If your function does not have a return value, then there won't be a return statement. Since there is nothing to return, the return type needs to change in both the header and the function declaration. Since no value will be coming back if there is no return value, then you don't have to use it. So you don't require the variable s or the assignment operator. Now we know that when there is no return value, which lines in the code should change, and when there are no arguments, which lines in the code should be modified. Let us first see how the function call statement gets changed for these 4 types of user-defined functions. For the first type, that is a function with arguments, in the function call you will find the actual arguments within the brackets, and if it is with a return value, the value which gets returned back should be stored inside a variable. So you will have an assignment operator and a variable, here it is c. For the second type, that is functions with arguments, again we know that in the function call, within the brackets you will find the actual arguments, and if there is no return value, no value is coming back, so you don't need to use it or you don't require a variable to store it. The third type is functions with no arguments. So when there are no arguments in the function call, you don't find any actual arguments within the brackets, and no return value. Again, the same as the second case, you don't require a variable to store the value since no value is coming back. So the function call just becomes the function name with the two brackets. The formal name for these brackets is the function call operator. The fourth type is the functions with no arguments. Then the function call, inside the brackets you will not find any actual arguments, and with a return value. When there is a return value, it needs to be used or stored in a variable. Just like in the first case, you require a variable to store this value which gets returned. Now let us look into the working examples of these four types of user-defined functions. The first one is the functions with arguments and with return value. This program I have already explained. The second type is the functions with arguments and no return value. If there is no return value, then in the function there won't be a return statement. The return type should be changed. When there is nothing to return, then the return type is set as void. Void means nothing. Void is a data type like integer or float that does not have a value. Also, if you don't provide any return type, if you write the header as just some int x int y, then by default the return type will be taken as an integer value. So if there is no return value, you have to set the return type as void. Also, the function declaration, the return type should be set as void. If you also compare the function call in both these programs, here you see that since there is nothing to return, you don't require a variable to store the value, just like the first example. So notice these four changes. The first one, no return statement. The second one, the return type changes to void. The third one, in the function declaration also the return type changes to void. And 4, in the function call, since there is no return value, you don't require this s equal to here in the program. Let's now see how this program works when we run the program. First, the line 6 will be executed, which is the function call. 2 will be passed to x and 3 will be sent to y. Then the execution continues within the function body. The printf statement will be executed and sum equal to 2 plus 3, 5 will be printed. Then the control transfers back to where the function is called. Next, it is the end of the main function, so the program stops. The output of both these programs are sum equal to 5. If you want to just print the sum, then the second program is enough. But if we need the value of sum back in the main function for any further calculations, say we want to find the average of these two numbers, that is when we require to return the value back into the main function. The third type is functions with no arguments and no return value. When there are no arguments, you don't find the actual arguments within the brackets of the function call. You don't find the formal arguments within the brackets inside the function header. You also don't find the formal argument list within the brackets of the function declaration. And no return value means the function will not have a return statement. The return type is void both in the function header as well as in the function declaration. Now let us see how this program works. When we execute this program, the first line to execute is the first line inside the main function, which is the function called sum. When the function is called, then the control transfers to the function body of this sum. The line 11 will be executed next, which is int x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 3. This will create variables x and y with values of 2 and 3 respectively. The next statement which executes is this printf statements, which will print sum is equal to 2 plus 3, 5. Then the execution continues back to the main function where the function is called. Since there are no remaining lines, the program execution stops. You can consider this function call as a switch. When this switch is activated, it completes some task and then it comes back. Next, the function with no arguments and with return value. No arguments means no actual arguments within the brackets of the function call, no formal argument in the function header as well as in the function declaration. With a return value means the function has a return statement. The data type of the return value should be specified in the function header as well as in the function declaration. Here the value which gets returned is an integer, so we provide int and int in both the function header and in the function declaration. Also, since a value is returned, we should store this value in some variable. Here it is s, and using an assignment operation. Now let us see how this program gets executed. First, it starts with the line 5. The variable s is created. Then the next statement is the line 6. Here there is an assignment operator. Whenever there is an assignment operator, always what is towards the right of the assignment operator gets executed first. Therefore, the function call is executed, sum. Then the execution continues to the function sum. On line 11, two variables x and y are created with values 2 and 3 respectively. Then the line 12, x plus y is calculated, which is 2 plus 3, 5, and this value is returned back to the function call, and that value 5 will be stored into the variable s. Next, line 7 will be executed, which is the printf statement. It prints sum is equal to 5. Even though all of these programs, 4 programs, gives you the same output, they belong to 4 different types of user-defined functions. I hope these illustrations have helped you to understand the details. One more thing, Here the main function calls the function sum. Therefore, this main function is called the caller function or the calling function. And the function being called is sum. So this function is called as the callee function or the called function. Let us now summarize. There are 4 types of user-defined functions. They are functions with arguments and with return value, the functions with arguments and no return value, the functions with no arguments and no return value, and 4, the functions with no arguments and with return value. I hope this video is helpful. Thank you for watching it.